3 days had passed since Zaraka began sleeping in Jake's bed. Each morning, she woke up feeling more refreshed and healthy than she had ever felt in her life. Her crystal body glowed with warm light, and her edges remained perfectly smooth and rounded. Jake had been sleeping on the couch in the main room, but he did not seem to mind. He was too fascinated by what was happening to her. "This is incredible," Jake said, as he took measurements of her crystal structure with a handheld scanner. "Your body is not just maintaining its health, it's actually improving. Look at these readings." Zaraka looked at the screen he showed her. Even though she did not understand all the technical details, she could see that her energy levels were higher than they had ever been. Her crystal formation was more stable, and her overall health indicators were perfect. "I do not understand how this is possible," she said. "My people have always been told that our traditional resting methods are the only way for us to maintain proper health." "Maybe your people were wrong," Jake suggested. "Or maybe they forgot something important about rest." That afternoon, Jake brought another human to meet her. It was a woman with short black hair and kind eyes. She wore the uniform of the station's medical staff. "Zaraka, this is Dr. Amy Chun," Jake said. "She's our xenopsychologist. She studies how different species think and feel." "It is nice to meet you," Zaraka said, her crystal voice making musical tones. "Jake has told me about your experience with human sleep," Dr. Chun said. "I'm very interested in understanding what's happening to you. Would you mind if I asked you some questions?" "I would be happy to help." Dr. Chun sat down and pulled out a tablet. "First, can you describe how you feel when you wake up from sleeping in the human bed compared to how you felt when you used your people's traditional resting methods?" Zaraka thought carefully. "When I used the alcove, I felt functional. I had enough energy to do what I needed to do, but I never felt truly rested. I always felt like something was missing. And now I feel complete. Like every part of me is working perfectly together. I feel peaceful and happy. I feel like I could accomplish anything." Dr. Chun made notes on her tablet. "That's very interesting. Jake, show her the scans you took." Jake pulled up the images on his computer screen. "These are scans of your crystal structure from 3 days ago, when you first slept in the bed." The image showed Zaraka's body with sharp, jagged edges and several small cracks. "And these are from this morning." The second image was completely different. Her crystal form was smooth and perfectly formed, with no cracks or imperfections. The entire structure seemed to glow with inner light. "I look completely different," Zaraka said in amazement. "Yes, but that's not all," Dr. Chun said. "I've been researching your species' history. I found some very old records from your homeworld, from before your people developed their current resting methods." She pulled up another screen showing ancient text and pictures. "According to these records, your people used to rest lying down, much like humans do. They had soft materials and comfortable sleeping areas. But about 3,000 years ago, they changed to the standing alcoves for reasons of efficiency." Zaraka stared at the images. The ancient Veltar in the pictures looked different from her people today. They had the same rounded, smooth edges that she had developed since sleeping in Jake's bed. Their crystal bodies glow with warm light, and they look peaceful and content. "My people used to sleep like this?" she asked. "Yes, and look at this." Dr. Chun showed her another image. "This is what your people look like today on your homeworld." The modern Veltar had sharp, angular edges and dim crystal bodies. They looked functional, but not happy. They looked exactly like Zaraka had looked when she first arrived at the station. "We changed," Zaraka said quietly. "We gave up something important to become more efficient." "It appears so," Dr. Chun said. "The question is, why did humans sleeping methods restore what your people lost?" Jake leaned forward. "I think I have an idea about that. I've been studying the way my bed works, and I think I understand why it helps you so much." He led them over to the bed and began explaining. "A human bed isn't just a place to lie down. It's a complex system designed to address multiple needs. At once, the soft materials provide physical support that adapts to your body shape. The blankets maintain perfect temperature control. The pillows support your head and neck to prevent stress. But most importantly, the whole system creates a sense of safety and security. Safety? Zarka asked. Yes, when humans sleep, we're vulnerable. We can't defend ourselves or run from danger. So we've evolved to need a place that feels completely safe before we can truly rest. The bed provides that feeling of security. Dr. Chun nodded. And I think that feeling of safety is what triggers the healing response in your crystal body. Your people's alcoves provide energy, but they don't provide the psychological comfort that allows for true rest. But why would psychological comfort affect my physical body? Zarka asked. Because mind and body are connected, Dr. Chun explained. When you feel safe and comfortable, your body can focus all its energy on healing and maintaining itself. When you're stressed or uncomfortable, even slightly, your body has to use energy to stay alert for potential threats. Jake pulled up more data on his computer. Look at this. I've been monitoring your energy expenditure while you sleep. In the human bed, you use 40% less energy than your people normally do during rest. But you wake up with more energy than you started with. That is impossible, Zarka said. Not impossible. Just more efficient than your people realize. When you're truly comfortable, your body can actually generate more energy than it uses during rest. Dr. Chio made more notes. This could revolutionize how we understand rest and recovery across all species. If human comfort methods can help the Veltar recover their lost evolutionary advantages, imagine what they might do for other species. But will my people believe this? Zarka asked. They have used the alcoves for thousands of years. They believe the old ways were primitive and inefficient. The evidence is pretty clear, Jake said. Your body doesn't lie. You're healthier now than you've ever been. But there might be resistance, Dr. Chun warned. When cultures change their fundamental practices, they often lose something important. Your people might not want to admit that they made a mistake 3,000 years ago. Zarka touched the soft blanket on Jake's bed. I do not want to go back to the alcove. I cannot imagine sleeping standing up anymore. The thought makes me feel sad. That's another important piece of data, Dr. Chun said. You're experiencing emotional attachment to the comfort, not just physical improvement. That suggests the human method is addressing deeper psychological needs. So what happens now? Jake asked. Do we report this to the Galactic Council? Do we try to share this information with other species? I think we should document everything carefully first, Dr. Chun said. We need to understand exactly how and why this works before we make any big announcements. Zarka felt a strange mixture of excitement and fear. What if my people do not want me to continue sleeping this way? What if they order me to return to the traditional methods? Jake and Dr. Chun exchanged glances. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Dr. Chun said gently. But if it does, we'll support whatever decision you make. As they talked, Zarka realized that something fundamental had changed in her life. She had not just discovered a better way to sleep. She had discovered that her people had been wrong about something important, and she had no idea how they would react when they found out. The human stood in the doorway, his brown eyes taking in the scene before him. Zarka remained frozen on the bed, her crystal body catching the dim light and throwing scattered patterns across the walls. She had never felt so embarrassed in her life. Her people valued dignity and proper behavior above all else, and here she was, caught sleeping in a stranger's private resting place. I am deeply sorry, she said, her voice creating small musical tones as it passed through her crystal. Vocal cords. There has been a mistake. I was given this room number, but clearly it belongs to you. The human stepped further into the room, but he did not seem angry. Instead, he looked concerned. Are you okay? You look different somehow. Zaraka tilted her head, confused. Different how? Well, when I first saw you, your edges were really sharp and jagged, but now they're smooth and rounded. Is that normal for your species? She looked down at herself in surprise. He was right. Her crystal form had changed during her sleep. The harsh angles that usually define her body had softened into gentle curves. This was something that happened to her people only when they were completely at peace and fully rested. She had not realized it had happened to her. This is unusual, she admitted. My people only look like this when we are in perfect health and completely relaxed. But I do not understand how this happened. I did not use any of our proper resting procedures. The human's eyebrows rose. Resting procedures? Yes. My people, the Veltar, rest standing up in special alcoves that provide energy directly to our crystal bodies. We do not lie down like this. We do not use soft materials. What you found me on, what is it? It's a bed, the human said, as if this explained everything. It's where I sleep. Sleep? Yeah. You know, when you close your eyes and rest for several hours, your body repairs itself and your mind processes the day's experiences. He paused, studying her rounded crystal form. Don't your people sleep? We rest, Zaraka said carefully, but not like this. We stand in our alcoves and meditate while energy flows through us. It is efficient and quick. We do not waste time. Lying down for hours. The human looked thoughtful. But you just did lie down for hours. And you said you feel better than usual? Yes, but that should not be possible. Your sleeping platform should not work for my species. We are made of crystal, not soft tissue like you. My name is Jake Morrison, by the way, the human said. I'm a xenobiologist here on the station. I study how different alien species adapt to new environments. I am Zaraka. I am here as part of a cultural exchange program. I am supposed to learn about other species and report back to my people. Jake nodded. Well, it sounds like you've already learned something pretty important. You've discovered that my bed works better for you than your own species' resting methods. That cannot be right, Zaraka protested. My people have used the same resting procedures for thousands of years. They are efficient and proven. But are they comfortable? The question caught her off guard. Comfortable? Yeah. Do they feel good? Do they make you happy? Do you wake up feeling refreshed and peaceful? Zaraka considered this. She had never thought about rest in terms of comfort or happiness. For her people, rest was simply a necessary function, like recharging a piece of equipment. We do not think about rest in those terms. But how do you feel right now, compared to how you normally feel after resting? She thought about it honestly. I feel better, more than better. I feel like my body is working perfectly for the first time in my life, and I feel... She struggled to find words for the sensation. I feel happy, content, like everything is right with the world. Jake smiled. That's what good sleep does. It doesn't just restore your energy, it makes you feel good about being alive. But how is this possible? Your bed is designed for your species, not mine. Maybe comfort is more universal than we think, Jake suggested. Maybe all living beings need to feel safe and supported when they rest, regardless of what they're made of. Zaraka stood up from the bed, her crystal feet clicking softly on the floor. I should go find my proper room. I have caused enough trouble. Wait, Jake said. What if there was a mix-up in the room assignments? Let me check with the station administration. He moved to a communication panel on the wall and pressed a few buttons. After a moment, a voice answered. Station administration, this is Clerk Valdez. Hi, this is Jake Morrison in room 2847B. I think there might have been a housing mix-up. There's a Veltar diplomat here who was told this was her room. Let me check. Oh no, I see the problem. The Veltar diplomat Zaraka was supposed to be assigned to room 2847C, not 2847B. I'll have maintenance unlock her proper room right away. Thanks, Jake said, then turned back to Zaraka. Your room is just next door. Same number, but C instead. A B. Thank you for your help, Zaraka said. And I apologize again for the intrusion. Don't worry about it. But can I ask you something? Are you going to be okay going back to your people's normal resting methods? The question made her pause. She had not thought about this, now that she knew how good it felt to rest a human. Wait, how could she go back to the rigid, efficient alcoves her people used? I do not know, she said honestly. Would you like to see what your assigned room looks like first? Maybe we can figure out if there's a way to make it more comfortable for you. Zaraka nodded, and they walked out into the corridor. Room 2847C was right next door, just as Jake had said. She used her access card to open it. The room was identical to Jake's, except for one important difference. Where Jake's room had the large, soft bed, this room had a tall, narrow alcove built into the wall. It was made of metal and crystal, designed to provide energy to her people while they rested standing up. This is what my people use, she explained. To Jake, I stand inside, and it provides energy directly to my crystal body. It is very efficient. Jake examined the alcove with interest. But does it feel good? It feels adequate. It does what it is supposed to do. But after sleeping in my bed, does this look appealing to you? Zaraka stared at the cold, hard alcove. The thought of standing in it for hours, rigid and upright, suddenly seemed terrible. How had she never noticed how uncomfortable it was? No, she said quietly. It does not. Would you like to try sleeping in a real bed for a few more nights, just to see how it affects you? But I do not wish to take your sleep-in place from you. I can sleep on the couch in the main room, or I can request a temporary room assignment. I'm really curious to see how human sleep affects your species. It could be important research. Zaraka looked back at Jake's room, where the soft bed waited. She thought about how peaceful and happy she had felt waking up there. She thought about how her crystal body had healed and rounded, showing perfect health for the first time in years. If you are certain it would not be too much trouble, she said slowly. No trouble at all. In fact, I'm excited to learn more about this. I've never seen an alien species adapt to human comfort methods before. As they walked back to Jake's room, Zaraka felt something she had never experienced before. She felt grateful to a being from another species, and she felt excited about the prospect of sleeping again. She did not know that this simple decision would change everything, not just for her, but for the entire galaxy's understanding of what it meant to truly rest. The transport ship shuddered as it docked with the research station. Zaraka pressed her crystalline hand against the small window and watched the metal corridors of Kepler Station grow larger. Her body felt tired in ways she had never experienced before. The journey from her homeworld had taken 3 standard weeks, and her crystal form was starting to show stress, fractures along the edges. She gathered her few belongings and stepped off the ship. The station's artificial gravity felt different from home. Everything here was made for soft-bodied species, not for beings like her who were made of living crystal. Her feet clicked against the metal floor as she walked toward the reception desk. Name and assignment? Asked the clerk, a green-skinned Altarian with 6 arms, Zaraka of the Veltar delegation. I am here for the cultural exchange program. The clerk's multiple hands moved quickly across his computer screen. Ah, yes. Here you are. Room 2847B, level 12. Here is your access card. He handed her a small plastic rectangle. The room should have everything you need. Zaraka took the card and studied it. Her people did not use such simple technology, but she had learned about it during her preparation for this mission. Thank you. She found the elevator and pressed the button for level 12. The doors opened to a long corridor lined with doors on both sides. Each door had a number. She walked slowly, her crystal feet making soft clicking sounds on the floor. 2845B, 2846B, 2847B. This was it. The access card worked on the first try. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Zaraka stepped inside, and the lights turned on automatically. The room was larger than she expected. It had a main area with a table and chairs, a smaller room that looked like a food preparation area, and another room with what appeared to be cleaning facilities. But what caught her attention was something in the far corner of the main room. It was a large rectangular platform raised off the floor. On top of it were layers of soft-looking materials in different colors. White sheets, a thick blue covering, and several small cushions arranged at one end. Zaraka had never seen anything like it. In her culture, they rested standing up in special alcoves that provided energy directly to their crystal bodies. This strange platform looked completely useless for that purpose. She walked closer to examine it. The materials looked incredibly soft. She reached out with one crystal finger and touched the top layer. It gave way under the pressure, creating a small depression. When she lifted her finger, the material slowly returned to its original shape. How strange! What could this possibly be for? Her body was getting more tired by the minute. The stress. Fractures were spreading, and she could feel her energy levels dropping. She needed to find the resting alcove soon, but she could not see one anywhere in the room. Perhaps it was hidden behind one of the walls. She pressed her hands against the walls, looking for a hidden panel or button. Nothing. The walls were solid, metal covered with some kind of soft material. She checked the smaller rooms, but they contained only equipment for food preparation and personal cleaning. Where was she supposed to rest? Her legs felt weak. The crystal structure of her body was beginning to dim, a sign that she desperately needed energy restoration. She had been traveling for days without proper rest, and her species could not survive long without their special resting procedures. She looked at the strange platform again. It was the only thing in the room that seemed designed for lying down. But how could she rest on something so soft? Her people needed rigid surfaces that could channel energy efficiently. Her vision started to blur. She was running out of time. If she did not rest soon, her crystal body would start to crack more seriously. That could be dangerous, even deadly. She approached the platform and climbed onto it carefully. The soft materials compressed under her weight, and she sank down several inches. It felt completely wrong. Her body was used to hard, flat surfaces that supported her crystal structure properly. This felt like being swallowed by something soft and warm, but she was too tired to search for another option. She lay down on her back, her crystal body reflecting the room's lights in scattered patterns across the ceiling. The soft materials seemed to wrap around her, supporting her in ways she had never experienced. It was not unpleasant. In fact, it was strangely comforting. Her body, usually rigid and sharp-edged, seemed to relax into the soft layers. The stress fractures stopped spreading. Her crystal form began to glow more steadily. She closed her eyes and tried to enter the meditation state her people use for rest, but something was different. Instead of the alert, controlled rest she was used to, she felt herself sinking into something deeper, something peaceful. The soft materials around her seemed to hold her gently, like being embraced by something caring. The temperature was perfect, not too hot or cold. The cushion supported her head in a way that took all the pressure off her neck crystals. For the first time in her life, Zaraka felt truly comfortable. She did not know how long she slept. When she woke up, the room's lights had dimmed to match the station's artificial night cycle. She felt more rested than she had in months. Her crystal body glowed with healthy energy, and the stress fractures had completely healed. She sat up slowly, confused by how refreshed she felt. How was this possible? She had not used a proper resting alcove. She had not followed any of the procedures her people use for energy restoration. She had simply laid down on this strange, soft platform and slept. But it had worked better than anything she had ever experienced. She stood up and walked to the small mirror on the wall. Her reflection showed a crystal being with rounded edges and a soft, warm glow. This was how her people looked when they were completely healthy and well-rested. She had not looked this good in years. What was this strange platform? And why did it work so well for her? She examined it more carefully. The materials were clearly designed for beings with soft bodies, not crystal ones. The way they gave under pressure, the way they maintained temperature, the way they seemed to conform to whatever shape was placed on them. This was technology her people had never developed. She touched the soft layers again, marveling at how they felt under her crystal fingers. Whatever this was, it was clearly the resting place for whoever was supposed to live in this room. But why had it worked so well for her? A sound from the corridor made her freeze. Footsteps. Someone was coming. The door's access panel beeped, and she heard the soft hiss of it opening. A voice called out, unfamiliar but not hostile. "Hello? Is someone here?" Zaraka realized with growing alarm that she might be in the wrong room. The clerk had given her room 2847B, but what if there had been a mistake? What if this room belonged to someone else? She heard the footsteps getting closer. In a moment, whoever lived here would discover her. She was lying on their resting platform in their private space. Without permission, the footsteps stopped just outside the main room. She could hear breathing, the kind that came from beings with soft, air-filled bodies. Not her people. Not crystalline. At all. Excuse me? The voice said. It sounded male and patient rather than angry. I think there might be some confusion here. Zaraka turned toward the voice, her crystal body reflecting the dim lights in nervous patterns. Standing in the doorway was a creature unlike any she had seen before. It was tall, with soft pink skin and short brown hair on its head. It wore simple clothes and had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face with 2 eyes that looked at her with curiosity. Rather than fear, this was a human. And she was sleeping in his bed. Queen Lirale settled into her chair in the conference room, her elegant robes flowing around her like liquid starlight. Jake Martinez sat across from her, still looking like he wanted to run away and hide. Captain Thompson and Amy Rodriguez flanked him on either side, ready to protect their crew member if needed. "Mr. Martinez," the Queen began, her voice gentle but serious, "I need to explain to you exactly what your repair accomplished. Only then will you understand why I've traveled so far to meet you." Jake nodded nervously. "Okay, Your Majesty. But I still think you have the wrong person." Queen Lirale activated her holographic projector again, but this time it showed a map of the galaxy. Thousands of stars twinkled in the display, with colored lines connecting different systems. "This is the Zephyrian Empire, as it existed 300 years ago," she explained. "We control 47 star systems and over 200 inhabited worlds." Jake stared at the massive map. The Empire was enormous, covering a huge section of the galaxy that he had never even heard of. "That's incredible," he whispered. "We were a peaceful civilization," the Queen continued. "We used our advanced technology to help younger species develop, to explore new worlds, and to maintain order across the galaxy. But then civil war broke out among our people." The map changed, showing red areas spreading across the Empire like a disease. Systems that had been connected became isolated islands, and the neat lines of communication were broken into scattered fragments. "The war lasted for 50 years, Queen Lirale said, her voice heavy with sadness. "It destroyed everything we had built. Our fleets were scattered, our colonies were abandoned, and our people were left without leadership or direction." Jake watched as the empire on the map crumbled before his eyes. Entire star systems went dark, and the once mighty civilization fragmented into tiny pieces. It was like watching a beautiful building collapse in slow motion. "My flagship was the last hope for reuniting the Empire," the Queen explained. "It contained the only remaining quantum communication hub capable of reaching our scattered fleets. But during our escape from the final battle, the communication array was severely damaged." The holographic display zoomed in to show a massive starship, easily the size of a small city. Jake could see the complex antenna arrays and communication equipment that covered its hull, but many of the systems were dark and broken. Without the communication array, We were cut off from the rest of our people, Queen Lirelei continued. We went into hiding, disguised our ship as an asteroid, and put ourselves into stasis. We hoped that someone would eventually find us and repair the damage. Jake was beginning to understand the scope of what happened. So when I fixed our communication system, you restored power to my ship's quantum relay, the Queen finished. The system that had been broken for 3 centuries suddenly came back to life, stronger and more efficient than it had ever been. Amy Rodriguez leaned forward with interest. That explains the strange energy readings I was detecting. Your ship was trying to communicate with ours, Queen Lirelei nodded. The quantum relay automatically attempted to establish contact with any compatible communication system it detected. Your ship's array was crude by our standards, but it was functional, enough to carry the signal. Jake felt overwhelmed by the implications. You mean that all those years you were just floating out there in the dark, waiting for someone to accidentally fix your communication system? Not accidentally, Mr. Martinez, the Queen corrected. What you did required skill, intuition, and creativity that our own engineers had been unable to provide. You saw solutions that we had missed. She changed the holographic display to show the technical details of Jake's repair work. The circuits and connections were highlighted in different colors, showing how the energy flowed through the system. Look at these patterns, Queen Lirelei said, pointing to specific sections. You rerouted the power flow in ways that our original designers never considered. You created redundant pathways that make the system more stable and efficient. Jake studied the display carefully. I just connected things the way they seemed like they should be connected. It felt right, you know? That is exactly what makes your work so remarkable, the Queen replied. You use intuition to solve a problem that pure logic could not handle. Your people have a gift for seeing patterns and connections that more advanced civilizations miss. Captain Thompson had been listening quietly, but now she spoke up. Your Majesty, what does this mean for Jake and our crew? Are we in danger because of what happened? Queen Lirelei looked surprised by the question. Danger? Captain Thompson, you misunderstand. Completely. Mr. Martinez has done something wonderful. He has given my people hope for the first time in centuries. She activated the holographic display again, showing the galaxy map. This time, green lights began appearing across the scattered systems, as if stars were being lit one by one. Since the communication array was restored, we have been able to contact our lost fleets, the Queen explained. Ships that have been wandering alone for hundreds of years are finally receiving new orders. Colonies that thought they were abandoned are learning that their empire still exists. Jake watched in amazement as more and more lights appeared on the map. All of that happened because I fixed a broken circuit. You did much more than fix a broken circuit, Queen Lirelei said firmly. You reunited a civilization. You gave hope to billions of people who had lost everything. You saved an empire that was dying in the darkness. The conference room fell silent as everyone absorbed the enormity of what had happened. Jake, a simple maintenance technician, had accidentally changed the course of galactic history with a routine repair job. But there is something more, the Queen continued. The repair signature shows techniques that we have never seen before. Your approach to problem solving is completely different from ours. Where we use calculation and precise procedures, you use creativity and intuition. Amy Rodriguez nodded in understanding. Jake has always been like that. He can fix things that other people give up on. He just looks at a broken system and somehow knows what to do. This is exactly what our civilization needs, Queen Lirelei said with excitement. We have become too dependent on established procedures and rigid thinking. We have forgotten how to innovate and adapt. But your people, humans, you still have that ability. Jake felt uncomfortable with all the attention. Your Majesty, I appreciate what you are saying, but I really am just a maintenance guy. I don't think I'm qualified to help an entire alien civilization. Queen Lirelei smiled warmly. Mr. Martinez, You have already helped us more than you can imagine. But I believe you could help us even more if you were willing. What do you mean? Jake asked cautiously. I want to offer you a position as technical advisor to the Zephyrian Empire, the Queen said. You would work with our engineers to develop new approaches to problem solving. You would help us rediscover the creativity and innovation that we have lost. The offer stunned everyone in the room. Jake sat there with his mouth open, unable to process what he had just heard. An alien queen was offering him a job helping to rebuild a galactic empire. I don't know what to say, Jake stammered. You do not have to answer immediately, Queen Lirelei said gently. But I hope you will consider it. Your people have gifts that could benefit the entire galaxy. And in return, we could share our knowledge and technology with humanity. As Jake sat there, trying to decide whether he was dreaming or awake, he realized that his life had just taken the most unexpected turn possible. 3 days ago, he had been a simple maintenance technician worried about fixing a broken communication system. Now he was being offered the chance to help reshape the galaxy. But first, he needed to understand exactly what he would be getting himself into. And more importantly, he needed to figure out if he was brave enough to accept such an enormous responsibility. Captain Lisa Thompson was drinking her morning coffee when the ship's alarm system suddenly screamed to life. Red lights flashed throughout the bridge as the proximity sensors detected something massive approaching the new frontier. She nearly dropped her cup as she rushed to the main display. What in the hell is that? She whispered, staring at the sensor readings. The object on the screen was enormous, easily 10 times the size of their mining ship. It had appeared out of nowhere, as if it had simply materialized in space. The shape was strange and angular, unlike any human vessel Lisa had ever seen. But what shocked her most was that it had been invisible until now. Amy, get to the bridge now, Lisa shouted into her communicator. And find Jake Martinez. I need him up here immediately. Amy Rodriguez was already on her way, having seen the sensor readings from the maintenance deck. She had been tracking strange energy signatures for days, and now she knew what had been following them. As she ran through the corridors, she grabbed Jake from the engine room where he had been working. What's going on? Jake asked, confused by the sudden panic. Remember those weird readings I told you about? Amy said, pulling him toward the bridge. I think we are about to meet whatever was causing them. When they reached the bridge, the entire crew was staring at the massive alien ship that now hung in space beside them. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, covered in blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. The hull was smooth and curved, made from materials that seemed to shift and change color as they watched. Captain, the communications officer called out, we are receiving a transmission. Lisa Thompson took a deep breath, knowing that this moment would change everything. Put it through. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. The being was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow with its own light. Her eyes were large and intelligent, and she wore robes that looked like they were made from starlight itself. Greetings, humans of the vessel New Frontier, the alien said. Her voice was melodic and strange, but the words were clearly understood. I am Queen Lirelei of the Zephyrian Empire. I come in peace. Captain Thompson felt her knees go weak. A queen. An alien queen was talking to them. She tried to remember her training about first contact procedures, but her mind was blank. Hello, Your Majesty, Lisa managed to say. I am Captain Lisa Thompson. Welcome to our ship. Queen Lirelei smiled, and even through the alien features, it was clearly a friendly expression. Thank you, Captain Thompson. I have traveled many light years to meet with your chief engineer. I understand that someone aboard your vessel has performed remarkable work on communication systems. Lisa looked confused. Our chief engineer? Ma'am, we don't really have a chief engineer. We have maintenance crews who handle repairs and... Then, perhaps I should speak with your most skilled technical specialist, the Queen interrupted gently. The person who repaired the quantum communication array. The bridge fell silent. Nobody knew what a quantum communication array was, and they certainly had not repaired one. Lisa looked around at her crew, hoping someone would have an answer. Your Majesty, Lisa said carefully, I think there might be some confusion. We haven't worked on any alien technology. We just do routine maintenance on our own systems. Queen. Liralay's expression showed surprise. But our records clearly show that someone from your vessel repaired our communication array 3 days ago. The work was extraordinary, showing deep understanding of quantum mechanics and energy field manipulation. Amy Rodriguez suddenly stepped forward. Wait a minute. 3 days ago, Jake was working on our communication system. He fixed some kind of interference problem. All eyes turned to Jake, who was standing at the back of the bridge trying to make himself invisible. He had been hoping this was all some kind of mistake, but now everyone was looking at him. Jake Martinez, Captain Thompson said, did you work on anything unusual 3 days ago? Jake swallowed hard. I just fixed a routine glitch in the communication array. There was some kind of interference from space debris, so I cleaned up the connections and adjusted the signal processors. Standard repair work. Queen Liralay studied Jake with intense interest. This ordinary-looking human had accomplished something that her best engineers had said was impossible. He seemed nervous and confused, not at all like the master technician she had expected to meet. Mr. Martinez, the Queen said, may I speak with you privately? Jake looked around desperately, hoping someone would save him from this situation. Your Majesty, I think there has been a mistake. I am just a maintenance guy. I fix broken things. I don't know anything about quantum arrays or alien technology. Nevertheless, Queen Liralay said patiently, I would very much like to speak with you. Perhaps you could come aboard my ship. The suggestion sent panic through the bridge crew. Captain Thompson stepped protectively in front of Jake. Your Majesty, with all due respect, we cannot allow one of our crew members to lead the ship. We don't know anything about your intentions. Queen Liralay nodded understandingly. Of course, then perhaps I could come aboard your vessel. I give you my word that I mean no harm to you or your crew. This suggestion was almost as frightening as the first one. Having an alien queen aboard their simple mining ship seemed impossible. But Lisa realized they did not have much choice in the matter. Very well, Captain Thompson said. But I must insist that you bring only a small escort and that you submit to basic security scans. The Queen smiled again. I will come alone, Captain. I believe that trust must start somewhere. 30 minutes later, Jake Martinez found himself in the ship's main conference room, sitting across from an alien queen who ruled an empire spanning dozens of star systems. He felt like he was in a dream, except that dreams were usually not this terrifying. Queen Liralay was even more impressive in person. She was tall and graceful, and her presence filled the room with an aura of quiet authority. But her expression was kind, and she seemed genuinely interested in talking to him. Mr. Martinez, she began, I need you to understand something important. What you did 3 days ago was not a simple repair. You restored communication to my flagship, which had been lost for 3 centuries. You saved not just my ship, but potentially my entire civilization. Jake stared at her in disbelief. Your Majesty, I think you have me confused with someone else. I work on human technology. I don't know anything about alien ships or quantum communication or any of that stuff. Queen Liralay activated a small device that projected a holographic display of the repair work. Jake could see the circuit patterns and connection points that he had worked on, but now they were surrounded by complex energy fields and quantum calculations. This is your work, is it not? She asked. Jake studied the display carefully. The circuit patterns did look familiar, but the energy readings and quantum calculations were completely foreign to him. The basic connections look like what I did, but all this other stuff. I have never seen anything like it. Yet you repaired it perfectly, the Queen said. Your intuitive understanding of the system was remarkable. You saw patterns that our own engineers miss, and you found solutions that we had never considered. Jake felt overwhelmed. He had just been doing his job, fixing what looked like a broken communication system. He had no idea that he was working on alien technology or that his simple repair would have such enormous consequences. Your Majesty, he said quietly, I honestly don't understand what happened. I just saw a broken system and fixed it the way I always do. I didn't know it was important. Queen Lirelei leaned forward with interest. Tell me about your methods, Mr. Martinez. How do you approach a repair when you don't fully understand the system? Jake thought about it for a moment. I guess I just ... Look at how things are connected and try to figure out what they are supposed to do. Then I find the parts that are not working right and fix them. It is not very scientific. The Queen smiled. On the contrary, Mr. Martinez, what you describe is the most advanced form of engineering possible. You use intuition and creativity to solve a problem that logic and calculation could not handle. As Jake sat there, trying to process what he was hearing, he had no idea that this conversation would lead to the most important alliance in galactic history. But for now, he was just a confused maintenance technician wondering how he had gotten himself into the most impossible situation of his life.